Okay, guys, let's go ahead and talk about pronouns. And you're probably familiar with them, but let's talk about how the ACT is going to use pronouns. First, you need to make sure you know this chart. It's not very complicated, and it's probably common knowledge for you guys. But I'm gonna discuss pronouns in regards to the part of the sentence, so the subject, the object, and of course, you need to know the possessive. But know that the first person is I in the subject, and the first person is me in the object, and the first person possessive is my. The second person is you, and your, and then the third person is he, she, or it in the subject, him, her, or it in the object, and then his, her, or its. And we'll talk about how its works there, okay? In the plural, we have the same thing, subject, object, and possessive. In the first person, it's we. In the object, it's us. In the possessive, it's our. In the second person, subject, it's you. Object is you. Possessive is your. And the third person is they, them for object, their for possessive. Now, let's start talking about the I versus me in the use of pronouns. Now, you've probably been told your entire life that you should say I and not me. I is proper, me is wrong. But that's not really the case. Okay, so let's take a look at this. If you are replacing a noun, yourself, your name, with I, okay, you need to use I in the subject of the sentence. So if you're in the subject part of the sentence, you should use I. But you should use the word me if you're in the object portion of the sentence. Okay, so here's something to think about here. Take a look at the sentence. Mr. Tapp gave Bob and me an A. If you want to double check to make sure if you're using the right one, I or me, take away the other person in a sentence. And it'll become pretty obvious. Take away Bob in this sentence. Mr. Tapp gave me an A. That is grammatically correct. Me is in the object of the sentence. Okay, the object of the sentence, not in the subject. Subject is Mr. Tapp, right? Mr. Tapp is the one doing something. Object is usually later in the sentence. Another example, my friend and I like to play sports. If you take away the other person, I like to play sports, that's correct, right? That's not, you would never say me like to play sports. You're not 2 years old. So I like to play sports is correct. So that's really the litmus test. Can you take out the other person and does it work? And if it does, then you're good to go. Okay. Now, there versus there. Maybe this is elementary, but this is a mistake I often see with my students. There is a location, and the other, T-H-E-R-E is location, T-H-E-I-R is possessive. So this is how I remember it. I remember it as there has the word here in it, so it is a location. Right? And then the other there, T-H-E-I-R, has the word heir in it, which a person can own the heir to a throne, so it is possessive. Right? And that may seem pretty simple, but that's how I remember it. Its versus its. So its, I-T-S with no apostrophe, is possessive, and its with an apostrophe is it is. That is the contraction. Very simple, guys. Whenever you see the contraction here, just say it is, and you'll never make the mistake of mistaking these two things. So that's sometimes they're going to trick you on this its versus its. They're going to put its apostrophe, not it apostrophe s, but its apostrophe. That doesn't exist. That's not, its is not a real word. So that's a fake option. Whose versus whose. All right, so whose with the apostrophe is who is. That's the contraction. Whose with the WHOSE is the possession. It's the possessive form. That's all it really is. Those are the differences, okay? Now, sometimes they're going to test you on your pronoun agreement. So my friend and I went to the game and they had fun. What's wrong with this sentence? Well, we're using the wrong pronoun, they, right? Because they're two people, the pronoun they should be we. Right here, that should be a we, right? Then we get pronoun confusion. The Royals and the Twins played on Saturday and they won. Well, who is they? So we can't say they won. We can't really use a pronoun to replace. We have to say and the Twins won or and the Royals won. Okay? The reader can't tell, so we should just change it. That versus which. And we've already talked about this in regards to commas, but that generally introduces essential clauses that we need, and which generally introduces non-essential clauses that we don't need. So you're going to have commas around which, and typically with that you will not. Who versus whom? This is always very tough for kids. Who is always the subject, and whom is always the object. That's why I was talking about the differences in who and whom, right? Or in the subject and object. We've got to know subject and object, okay? So to decide whether or not you should use who or whom, you need to reword the sentence and substitute he or him. So he equals who and him equals whom. Now someone always asks, well, what about girls? Yeah, okay, gosh, she and her. Just replace them that way if you want to. It works the same way, okay, guys? So should you say who or whom if you were asking the following question? Who or whom did you call? Well, let's modify that sentence to did you call he or did you call him? Well, you would say, did you call him, right? Therefore, you would use whom there. So you called him, so you need whom. So it's whom did you call, right? Now, some pronouns, they just don't stand anything, for anything specific. There's a singular and some are plural for no apparent reason. So singular ones are any, anybody, anyone, everyone, which doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because there's a lot of people there. None, neither, either one, each. So neither of the college graduates has found a job. Bad news is you're never really going to be able to tell with your ear because your ear is going to work either way. It's going to sound correct. If I said neither of the college graduates have found a job, that doesn't sound wrong even though it is wrong. So this is kind of a list you need to memorize. That's tough. Plural ones will be both, many, several, few, and plenty. So several students were not able to finish the ACT. That's a lot easier because normally you're going to have like the plural noun right after students. That makes it a lot simpler. Okay, so those are pronouns, guys. You've been using them your whole life. Now we just need to work on perfecting when we use which one.